Some places impress you because they're huge. Trogir does the exact opposite. Its entire historic centre fits on a tiny island. Yet within these stone walls, you'll find more than 2,000 years of history, magnificent architecture, hidden monasteries, medieval fortifications, beautiful waterfronts, amazing nearby beaches, and some of the best day trips anywhere on the Dalmatian coast. Most visitors spend only a couple of hours here before moving on. By the end of this guide, you'll understand why Trogir deserves much more than that. We'll walk through every major landmark inside the UNESCO-listed Old Town, discover a few places many tourists completely miss, recommend where to eat, show you what the town looks like after sunset, and then cross over to nearby Ciovo Island to explore some of the area's most beautiful beaches. Finally, we'll finish with a few incredible day trips that are all less than an hour away. Let's begin. Before we even step into the Old Town, there's one practical thing worth knowing. You can't drive through the historic centre, so if you're arriving by car, you'll need to use one of the parking areas surrounding the island. During the summer season, they can fill up surprisingly quickly, especially in the middle of the day. So, arriving earlier in the morning usually saves both time and frustration. Fortunately, getting into the Old Town couldn't be easier. One of Trogir's newest additions is the modern pedestrian bridge, connecting the main parking area directly with the historic centre. Instead of walking all the way around the waterfront, you now cross the canal in just a couple of minutes. And honestly, this might be the best possible way to arrive. Ahead of you, medieval stone houses rise above the water. The bell tower of St. Lawrence Cathedral dominates the skyline. Kamerlengo Fortress watches over the western edge of the island, while fishing boats, sailing yachts, and palm-lined promenades frame the waterfront below. Then, if you turn around, you'll notice something many visitors don't realize at first. Just across the opposite bridge lies another island entirely. That's Ciovo. Later in this guide, you'll discover why Ciovo deserves a visit of its own, with some of the best beaches anywhere near Trogir. For now though, let's step into the Old Town itself. Almost immediately, you'll notice how different Trogir feels from many other Croatian coastal towns. You're surrounded by a maze of narrow limestone alleys that have remained almost unchanged for centuries. Every corner reveals another archway, another tiny square, another carved doorway or stone staircase leading somewhere unexpected. This isn't a city you simply walk through, it's a city you slowly uncover. One of the best pieces of advice we can give you is simple. Some of Trogir's most beautiful streets are the ones with no famous landmark at the end of them. Take a random turn. Walk down the narrowest alley you can find. You'll probably discover a quiet courtyard, ivy-covered windows, tiny family restaurants, or hidden architectural details that thousands of visitors pass by every single day. That's where much of Trogir's real charm lives. After only a few minutes of wandering, the narrow streets suddenly open into the city's main square. This is the historic heart of Trogir. Standing here, it's easy to understand why Trogir earned its place on the UNESCO World Heritage list. Within just a few steps, you're surrounded by nearly every architectural style that shaped the Adriatic over the last 2,000 years. Romanesque, Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque influences all stand side by side, telling the story of a town that was ruled by Greeks, Romans, Venetians, and many others. The undisputed centerpiece is the magnificent Cathedral of St. Lawrence. Construction began back in the 13th century and continued for centuries, which is exactly why the cathedral combines several architectural styles into one extraordinary building. If you're happy to climb a few hundred steps, don't miss the cathedral's bell tower. Take a slow walk around the plaza, and you'll notice several more remarkable buildings surrounding you. The elegant city Loggia once served as the public meeting place, where important announcements were made and justice was administered. Even today, its graceful arches remain one of the most recognizable symbols of Trogir. Nearby stands the historic Duke's Palace, or Kněžev Dvor, which served as the residence of the Venetian governors during centuries of Venetian rule. Rising beside it is the old clock tower. Another unmistakable feature of the city's skyline that has watched over this square for generations. Just a few steps away stands the charming church of St. Barbara. Compared to the cathedral, it's much smaller and often overlooked, but it's actually one of the oldest preserved churches in the entire city. Continuing through the old streets, you'll find another beautiful example of Trogir's religious heritage, the Church of St. John the Baptist. Today, the church is partly preserved as a historic monument, and its remains offer a glimpse into the medieval religious life of the city. It is the kind of place where you can stop for a few minutes, look at the old stone walls, and imagine what life in medieval Trogir must have looked like. One of the places worth discovering is the Monastery of St. Nicholas. Founded in the 11th century, This Benedictine monastery has been an important spiritual centre of Trogir for almost 1,000 years. Another important landmark along the waterfront side of the old town is the church and monastery of St. Dominic. Built by the Dominican order, this complex played an important role in education and religious life throughout Trogir's history. While exploring the western part of the old town, keep an eye out for another interesting landmark, the Tower of St. Michael's Church. But Trogir is not only about churches and medieval architecture. For those who want to understand the city beyond its buildings, there are also several museums worth visiting. The main one is the Trogir City Museum, located inside the historic Garanin van Vogner Palace. Here you can learn about the entire story of Trogir, from its ancient Greek foundations and Roman period, through medieval development, Venetian influence, and the everyday life of its citizens. Another interesting museum is the Museum of Sacred Art, located within the former church of St. Mary. And there is one more unique thing about Trogir's cultural scene. Throughout the year, the city often hosts temporary exhibitions and visiting collections. So, while walking through the old town, you may discover exhibitions dedicated to famous artists and themes from around the world. Sometimes even displays connected with names such as Salvador Dalí. After exploring these quieter corners, it's time to head toward the most dramatic part of the old town. Standing at the western edge of the old town, you'll finally reach one of Trogir's most recognizable landmarks, Kamerlengo Fortress. Built in the 15th century during Venetian rule, this massive stone fortress was designed to protect the town and control access to the important maritime routes around Trogir. From the outside, its thick walls and towers immediately show the defensive purpose of the building. Climb to the top of the fortress walls and you'll get a spectacular panorama of the entire historic centre, the waterfront, the marina, Čiovo Island, and the surrounding Adriatic. If you visit during the summer, Kamerlengo also becomes a cultural venue, hosting concerts, performances, and events inside its ancient walls. After leaving the fortress, follow the waterfront and you'll experience one of the most enjoyable parts of Trogir. The Riva, or seaside promenade, is where the historic town meets the modern Mediterranean lifestyle. Here you'll find sailing boats, traditional fishing vessels, luxury yachts, and cafes with views across the water. It's the perfect place for a slow walk, especially in the late afternoon. But before you leave the old town, there are two small green spaces worth discovering. Despite being surrounded by stone and history, Trogir also has relaxing parks on both sides of the historic centre. On the eastern side, near the bridge connecting the old town with the mainland, you'll find a pleasant park area where you can escape the crowds, sit under the trees, and enjoy a different perspective of the city walls. On the western side, close to Kamerlengo Fortress, another park area creates a beautiful transition between the fortress, the sea, and the waterfront. Of course, exploring Trogir is not only about landmarks. The old town is full of restaurants, cafes, and small ice cream shops hidden between its narrow streets. And there is one local specialty you should definitely try while visiting: Trogirski Rafioli. These traditional sweet pastries are one of the town's most famous treats, with a recipe connected to generations of local families. For a proper meal, the old town offers many excellent options. From casual seafood restaurants to more refined dining experiences. One place worth mentioning is restaurant Il Ponte, located right near the new pedestrian bridge. The restaurant combines traditional Dalmatian flavours with a more modern approach, offering dishes based around fresh local ingredients, seafood, meat specialties, and carefully selected wines. It's a great option if you want to take a break from sightseeing and experience Trogir in a slower way. During the day, the old town can be lively and busy, especially in summer. But once the evening arrives and the lights turn on, the atmosphere changes completely. The narrow streets become quieter. The ancient stone walls are beautifully illuminated. Small squares glow under warm lights, and the maze of alleys that seemed crowded earlier suddenly feels almost magical. Walking through Trogir at night is one of the best experiences the city offers. Just wander, follow the streets, and let the atmosphere guide you. Leaving the historic streets of Trogir behind, we now cross over to the island that sits directly behind the old town, Ciovo. And this is where many visitors make one of the biggest mistakes. They come to Trogir, explore the beautiful old town, take a few photos, and then leave, without realizing that one of the best parts of this destination is literally just across the bridge. Ciovo is connected to Trogir by a modern bridge, making it extremely easy to visit, even if you only have a few hours. The island offers a completely different experience from the medieval streets of Trogir. Instead of stone palaces and narrow alleys, you'll find pine forests, hidden coves, crystal clear water, and a long coastline filled with beaches, ranging from busy family spots to quiet natural bays. The first stop is Okrug Gornji, located on the southern side of Ciovo. This is the most famous beach destination near Trogir, and probably the place you will hear about most often when searching for beaches in the area. The main attraction is Copacabana Beach, a long pebble beach with clear turquoise water, restaurants, cafes, and plenty of activities. Its biggest advantage is accessibility. You can reach it quickly from Trogir, making it a popular choice for families, couples, and anyone who wants a convenient beach day without traveling far. The shallow water and easy access make it especially suitable for families with children, while the surrounding cafes and beach bars mean you can easily spend the entire day here. Because of its popularity and location close to Trogir, Okrug Gornji can become very busy during the peak summer months. If you prefer a quieter experience, arriving early in the morning or visiting outside the main season will give you a completely different atmosphere. Driving further around the island, you'll reach one of Ciovo's most beautiful coastal escapes, Labadusa Beach. This place feels completely different from Okrug Gornji. Instead of a developed beach promenade, Labadusa is surrounded by Mediterranean nature, pine trees and rocky coastline. The water here is incredibly clear, making it a fantastic place for swimming and snorkeling. One of the reasons visitors love Labadusa is that it offers that classic Croatian Adriatic feeling. Jumping into crystal clear water, relaxing under pine trees, and enjoying the sound of waves instead of crowds. The beach itself is a mix of pebbles and rocky areas, with natural platforms where you can sit close to the sea. There is also a small beach restaurant where you can take a break during the day and enjoy the surroundings. On the northern side of Ciovo lies the peaceful coastal village of Slatine. Compared with Okrug Gornji, Slatine has a much more relaxed atmosphere. Here, you'll find a series of smaller beaches, hidden swimming spots, and a coastline perfect for those who prefer a slower pace. This area is also a great choice if you want to combine swimming with a quieter village experience. One of the interesting things about Slatine is that it feels removed from the busy tourist areas, even though it is actually very close to both Trogir and Split. During summer, boats also connect Slatine with Trogir and Split, making it possible to explore the coast without always relying on a car. One of the biggest advantages of visiting Trogir is its location. This small historic town sits almost perfectly in the middle of central Dalmatia, which means some of Croatia's most famous attractions are surprisingly close. You can easily make Trogir your base and explore a completely different experience every day. From medieval cities and ancient fortresses to national parks and spectacular natural landscapes. Here are the places that deserve a spot on your itinerary. Just around 30 kilometers from Trogir lies Split, the largest city on the Dalmatian coast, and one of the most interesting places in Croatia. Hidden inside the modern city is something truly unique. The famous Diocletian's Palace, that is still alive after more than 1700 years. People still live inside its old stone walls. Cafes fill the former Roman streets, and historic buildings blend together with modern life. And if you want a different perspective of the city, visit the Marjan Park. This green peninsula rises above Split and offers incredible views over the city, nearby islands, and the Adriatic. Split can feel overwhelming compared to Trogir, but that is exactly why the two destinations work so well together. Trogir gives you the charm of a small medieval town. Split gives you the energy of a living Mediterranean city. After exploring Trogir, one thing becomes clear. This is not just another stop between Split and other famous destinations. If you are planning a trip through Dalmatia, Trogir is one of those places that gives you the best of everything: history, culture, beaches, nature, and unforgettable Mediterranean atmosphere. So, take your time here. Explore the old town without rushing. Cross over to Ciovo, discover the hidden beaches, and let Trogir show you why this small island city has been attracting visitors for more than 2,000 years. Ready to explore the entire Croatia? Subscribe and download our travel app today.